So today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little knitted pumpkin with a crocheted stem and a crocheted leaf and vine. I'm using impeccable yarn in the pumpkin color, Addy king size 46 pin, and I'm going to go ahead and cast on and do a total of 54 rows. With the cast on, if you need a slower demonstration on how to cast onto your circular knitting machine, I will put a link in the description below. You'll want to make sure you leave at least 6 to 8 inches when you cast on. And we're not using waste yarn, we're just using the color of your pumpkin. Go ahead and put it into the yarn feeder and into your tensioner if you have one. And go ahead and crank out 54 total rows, and I'll meet you there. Set your counter to 0 to keep track of your rows. All right, here we are coming up to our last row. So go around, and before you cut your yarn, before you get to the black pin here, you're going to need at least 2 feet of yarn, because you're going to use this to close up your pumpkin, create these indents in it, sew on your stem, and sew on your vine and leaf. To cast off, you'll go ahead and take your darning needle and go ahead and start casting off of your machine however you want to do that best. I like to use these metal ones I got off of Amazon. I'll go ahead and send that link to you in the description below. These needles have been amazing for both crochet, my Amigurumi, and also to cast off of the Addy, because the head of this needle fits perfectly in between the pins here. And so when I cast off, I like to do a few at a time here, and I use my fingers to hold the next loop to make sure it doesn't come undone, which is quite common. I have done it before. So you just hold it down with your finger to prevent that loop from coming off of the pins when you do your cast off here. So just simply go around, grab every single loop. You should have 46 total, so you've got a 46 pin machine, or if you have the center 48, you should have 48. Or the generic 40s, you'll have 40 total loops to grab with your darning needle. So take it off of your machine completely, pull your thread all the way through, and then I'll show you what we do next. So you have your final knitted project here. When you did 46 rows, you'll have 2 ends that you'll need to tighten up. So just give a little pull at the end here, just so you don't lose that, and then we'll go ahead and start working on the end that already has the needle on it, since you don't need to re-loop it. And we'll go ahead and pull that up through the middle of your project. Pull it all the way through so that you fold your project in half like that, and go ahead and yank it so that you can start tightening it up. And so take note of where it's pulling from. You can see here that we're pulling it this way, so it's coming around. It is currently going around this direction, and that's important to note when you start tightening it up, because what you'll want to do is take your darning needle and start pulling that yarn back around one more time. And I like to just go around once vertically and once horizontally to tie it off. Your other end, which is the end you cast on with, and go ahead and find that yarn end and pull on it so that you start cinching up this side of your pumpkin. Take both strands of yarn, go through the middle of your pumpkin and out the other side. Take the shorter end, and I'll go ahead and cut the length of it, and you're going to need that. Thread your darning needle. Straighten out your pumpkin so it's almost like a miniature beanie. It's almost like a hat for a toddler or a baby. And stretch it out so it's pretty even around, and the very base of that, go ahead and Find a hole that you like, and what you're going to do is you're going to thread your yarn all the way on the inside so that the entry and exit of the yarn is in the same hole. So you're going to have a yarn end, 2 yarn ends coming out of this. So you'll enter through here and just, you know, arbitrarily pick spots to take it out so you can start weaving it around. See, now you're going to leave this yarn end that I'm just going to hold with my thumb so it doesn't come undone. And you'll just go around the pumpkin with the goal of putting both yarn ends through this hole right here. This is because we're going to use this piece of yarn to tighten this end of your pumpkin. Now, could you have done this before you closed up your pumpkin? Yes, you could have. This is just the way I do it, but the other method is you could just cut a piece of yarn and lay it in there with the 2 yarn ends already out, one of your stitches. Both yarn ends are through the same hole. You'll start tightening it, basically creating another cinched bottom here. So before you do that though, you want to go ahead and stuff it full of polyfill. Ideal for doll making, polyfill, crafter's choice. What we'll do is, just like we did before, is you're going to go around twice to really tighten it up and reduce any sort of gap that there might be there. And I'm going to go around again to tighten it up and really reduce that gap that's in there. Take the longer piece that you had cast off with, go ahead and thread your needle. All the yarn should be on one end of the pumpkin. It's the longest piece of yarn you have, and what you're going to do is go through the middle here and up through the middle. So you're just going to be poking holes from middle to middle. So go ahead and do that, and what you're aiming to do here is make a pattern, the yarn that goes along the seam like this, along the seam of your knit. Tighten it to your desire, and I like to go ahead and just do a single tie off here to secure it in place. Do half and half, and then the final half to really finish off the pumpkin and make the shape how I like it. And I just make sure the needle goes as close to the middle as possible, and that I follow along one row here. It's as close as possible to being along one row here. Okay, and just tighten it to how you like it, so it's about right. I'm going to go this way. Again, I just follow a row, stick it right down the middle, and up through the middle again, and then tie it snug so it's about the shape you want it to be. And I tie it to here just once. And you have your shape. So next we're going to put this to the side, because the next step is putting the stem here and sewing on the stem, and then doing the leaf and the vine and sewing those on as well.
To crochet the stem, make a magic circle. I'll put a link in the description box below. Single crochet 6 times into the magic circle. Close your circle by pulling on the yarn end. For the next round, single crochet and then a single crochet increase into the next stitch, for a total of 9 stitches. Single crochet around 5 rows or more if you'd like your stem to be taller. Use a stitch marker to mark your first stitch. Next, you will do an increase into each stitch around for a total of 18 single crochets. That's 2 single crochets into each stitch all the way around. In the next round, you're going to do a single crochet and then an increase into the next stitch for a total of 27 stitches. So that's a single crochet and then increase, single crochet, increase. To make the leaf, the first thing you're going to do is make a slip knot with your light green yarn. I'm using a worsted weight with a 5mm hook. Chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next, on the third chain down from your hook, make a double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Insert your hook here, yarn over and pull through, and your double crochet. Into that same chain, make a treble crochet, which means yarn over twice, go into that same stitch, chain, and do your treble crochet. Into the next chain, you'll do another treble crochet. So that's yarning over twice. Locate that chain that comes up next. Go in, pull through 2, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through the final 2. And you're going to do one more of those into that same stitch. So yarn over twice, find that same chain, stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Into the next chain stitch, you will do 2 double crochets. There's your first double crochet, and into that same chain stitch, another double crochet. Into the next stitch, you'll do a half double crochet. So you yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And to the next stitch, you'll do a single crochet. And then to the final stitch, you'll do a slip stitch. So now you're at the end, and what you'll do is chain 2, and now you'll rotate your work, turning that leaf end towards your other hand, and into that stitch there you're going to slip stitch. We're going to mirror what we just did on this side. So that means we're going to slip stitch first, and then we're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do a single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch. So you can see where it makes an X right inside there. You'll do a half double crochet, and then you're going to do 2 double crochets in that same chain stitch there. And then the next one is 2 treble crochets. So yarn over twice, go into that next stitch, and do your treble crochet. And again, the same thing into the same stitch, treble crochet. And then the next stitch, you'll do a treble crochet and a double crochet into that final stitch right here. So treble crochet and a double crochet. Finish it off with a chain 1 and slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet here. To make the vine, chain 15, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If you want the vine to be longer, you can chain more. Next, you will do 2 single crochets into each of those chains. That's what causes the stitches to curl and make the vine look, is by adding 2 single crochets into each of the chain stitches. Do that all the way down, and I'll meet you at the bottom, or I'll show you how we slip stitch back into the vine and fasten off. You'll notice that it'll start curling, and that's how it's supposed to look to make that vine appearance, by increasing 2 times into each of the chain stitches. So complete your 2 single crochets all the way down, and I'll meet you down here when we get to the last chain. So you're at your last chain now. Go ahead and do 2 single crochets into the last chain stitch, and you're going to slip stitch into the same stitch that you started your chain with. Slip stitch and fasten off. All right, done with the leaf and the vine. Let's move on to the next step. In this step, you'll start sewing on the stem. Just to give you an idea of how that works, I go stitch by stitch. Let's go from underneath and then go through the next stitch going down, so that the yarn is invisible on top, so you can't even see the orange when you do it that way, when you go in the stitches. And then you know where you want it placed, so you just look where that stitch should go, and you pick a spot that makes sense, where it won't stretch it out or make it look wrinkled, and it'll sit well on there. So then find your next stitch you want to go into here, and back down through the next stitch, pull it snug. And where do you want to put it on your pumpkin? Go through there and go up through the next stitch. Let's see. And back down and secure it again to the pumpkin. And now one more time up through the first stitch that I started with, and I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to secure it back this way and tie it off. And then I like to hide the yarn inside of the pumpkin, but I'm going to do that last because the next step is to add the leaves. The leaf that you crocheted, and I'll go ahead and thread my needle. I'll just take the longest one, which is the green one, and I like to put it on top of where that knot is to hide it. What I'll do is I'll just secure it about 3 total stitches. I'll go down inside of the first stitch here and secure it, like I said, right on top of that knot. Well, there you can see where it's just going to go like that. And then I'll come back through the next stitch. And I'm going to come down here to secure it. And then through the pumpkin. This one's just how you feel it should look, what would make it look best. It's really up to you how you want to sew it onto your pumpkin.
You know, in one case I did sew the leaf all the way down, but I decided I didn't like that look, so then I just started sewing a little bit of the stem and a little bit of the leaf on there, and I think that's good enough for it to look pretty nice. And so I'm going to go ahead and finish off with this stitch up here and secure it in. Just looking at it, I'll probably go one more over on the vine. And it's really by feel and how you think it should look. And I'm going to go ahead and go back through the middle here because I'm going to secure it off. And then I'll hide the yarn inside of the stem to kind of pump the stem a little bit. You can take your needle and weave your yarn into your stem to hide it, or you can just cut it off, whatever you prefer. But I like to go ahead and put it in through the bottom here and put it inside the stem.
So continue stuffing the yarn into the stem if you like, or just cut it off if you prefer, and that'll finish off your pumpkin. And I really hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial, and I hope it helped you. And if it did, please like and subscribe.